When the HTC Vive launched in 2016, it was the de facto VR headset. But as time has passed, HTC's presence in the space has kind of faded, as we see Facebook coming in with Oculus Quest and Valve coming in with their Index headset. But that's all about to change with HTC's new, oh my god, I just forgot the name.
XR Elite.
We'll put B-roll there. But that's all about to change with HTC's Vive XR Elite, a brand new headset that's taking HTC's consumer VR to the next level. And look at the size difference. And we haven't even talked about the fact that this has to be connected to a whole computer. This is a standalone VR headset that's competing with Meta's Quest 2. What does that mean? It's standalone VR, which means it makes use of stuff like inside-out tracking using the 4 cameras on the front. That allows you to have complete mobility and enabling you to use this in any room that you want. And it might actually make sense for traveling because this comes with an incredible battery life. You can expect to use this for up to 2 hours at a time, which is impressive considering it's using Qualcomm's powerful new XR2 processor. Now, why not the XR2 Plus? Well, the XR2 and the XR2 Plus are basically the same chip. What Qualcomm did with the XR2 Plus was that they changed the orientation of some of the components on the chip itself to help with heat dissipation. However, this has active cooling in the form of a fan that's in the headset that's going to prevent any sort of overheating from occurring. Let's talk about the specs of the headset. It comes with 128 gigs of storage and 12 gigabytes of RAM. So you can hold a good amount of games on here as well, but a nice feature is that there's going to be pass-through to your computer. Pretty cool. It features 2K per eye. That's a 1920 by 1920 display per each eye. They're calling it 4K, but that's not what 4K is. It adds up to 3840 by 1920. That's not 2160. Don't lie, HTC, I don't like it. Okay, but what is true is that we have a 90 Hz display with a 110-degree field of view, which is not best in class, but very, very good and directly in line with the competing Quest 2. But they have other enhancements that are going to make a big impact. Obviously, they have interpupillary distance adjustments. We have speakers in for each of the ears, very slickly integrated into the frame of the headset. The audio solution that they have here is, I would say, sufficient. It's nowhere near as good as, say, the audio on the Index, but obviously it's much, much smaller. And they do get relatively loud, at least as loud as I was comfortable having them here. And this is a very loud room. And these also feature a diopter for each lens, which allows you to dial it in exactly to your prescription. And these numbers here, they line up with your actual prescription. So if you have a -6, then you can adjust it to 6, and it should look great. That's gonna make a huge difference for glasses wearers who have had a lot of issues of enjoying VR. Right here is a proximity sensor, so that when you take off the headset, you don't have to worry about it still running and rendering your games. It turns the displays off and pauses everything. But it's not just an all-in-one device. You can actually take off the battery pack and swap out for a lighter headband while you use this with your desktop computer. And what's great is that you're not going to be locked into the Oculus ecosystem and have to use a hacky workaround to play your Steam VR games. This has Steam VR support just like the HTC Vive, so everything that you have on Steam, where all of the best VR games are, I mean, now I will say this kind of disconnect feels a little bit flimsy. It's a very plasticky headset, and they did that in the name of weight reduction, which helps make it super comfortable. But as you can see, and this is pre-production, it's a demo unit, but you can kind of see there's a little bit of stress that's caused these buckles to kind of come out a little bit. I don't know if that's going to be fixed in the final version. Right now, this connector is hard to pull out and feels a little flimsy. The headset by itself weighs about 250 grams, give or take a few. With the battery attached, it's only just around 650. Compared to the HTC Vive, which weighs 555 grams. Now you might be thinking, hey, wait a second, that's like less than this combined. But because the battery's at the back of your head, it kind of counterbalances the headset, whereas with the HTC Vive, it's all at the front and like 1.5 inches away from your face, so it's kind of constantly pulling on the front of your face. This makes a really big difference. This all sounds really good, and I'm very excited to try it out. But first, let's talk about dbrand.
So our sponsor for CES 2023 actually dropped out, but dbrand footed the bill. The only catch is they want me to come out onto the streets and offer tech tips to random people for free. I'm not optimistic. Do you want a tech tip?
On what?
On anything, any kind of tech. Ever have any questions about technology?
No, I don't think so.
You don't need any tech tips?
No, I'm not very techy.
You know how to use Google perfectly?
Yeah.
Was that an iPhone?
Yeah.
You like iPhones?
Pretty good.
But you don't want any tech tips about how to use it?
No, I think so.
You're a master.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Can you do one thing for me?
What?
Go to shortlinus.com.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
This is for a YouTube video.
The headset also comes with a set of these Vive controllers. They're a little bit different than the ones that you're used to with the Vive Pro or the original Vive. They're a lot more like the Quest Pros. Again, they use inside-out tracking. You have an analog trigger up here with a hard press at the bottom. Instead of using proximity for grip sensing, there's a single button, so you'd hold an index finger on the trigger. You want to squeeze with your hand, you just kind of grip there. That button's in. A and a B button, and some joysticks that are not really that comfortable. I'm not a huge fan of them, but they track really well. Speaking of tracking really well, I was really blown away by how good the finger tracking was. It was very, very responsive, and the range was much further than the tracking on the Meta Quest, where if you go full arms out, if you're a tall person like me, it just loses track of them. My full range of motion was totally usable for me. And the only way I could break the hand tracking was when you were doing stuff like hiding your fingers. I was really impressed with it, and it makes a big difference in terms of how immersive things feels, being able to like actually, you know, pinch a guitar pick and like finger the guitar. It was really, really impressive. On the back of the headband, you have this soft rubber that keeps a good grip with the back of your head. And for the gasket, it's a very nice nylon kind of texture. It feels really good. It's very soft, and I found that it did a great job of alleviating the pressure of the mask on my head, despite the fact that it's so thin and small.
And I'm very pleased to be your guide through the metaverse today.
I'm really excited.
Are you excited?
I am a huge classical music fan. You got Bach, Mozart,
of course.
Beethoven, all the big ones.
Today we're going to conduct Verdi.
Okay.
So this controller will be in your right hand.
Okay.
That's it. Finger on the trigger, as we say here in the US. And you're going to see me.
I see you.
Yes, you see me in real life, and now you see me digitally by the power of Maestro and the metaverse.
I think it's incredible. I'm glad that culture is finally coming to tech.
Look at it. You can see the passion running through his body. He's wrestling with Verdi.
So I've spent some time playing a couple of games. We played like this Maestro demo where I was controlling an orchestra, and this air guitar demo where I was about as good as air guitar as I was at real guitar. And I have some thoughts. One, it is a supremely comfortable headset. It's very light, it's really easy to use, but there are some issues. For one, the gasket. It's a magnetic attachment for the pressure that you want on your face to make sure it's secure, especially if you're playing like an active game. Here's a demonstration. Look at how easy, like, I barely had to touch that. It has an RGB camera in the front for pass-through, so you can see what's in front of you, and a depth sensor to help make sure that what you're actually seeing kind of reflects what the physical space is showing. And it's a really good looking camera. You can like use your phone with it. You can type a message out. It's a very, very good camera. You're buying into an ecosystem, and Facebook has had a lot of time to develop their ecosystem, filling it with great exclusives and a ton of community support, thanks to being the most popular option out there. Whereas the MetaQuest 2 is $400, this comes in at $1,100, which is pricey, especially considering that, you know, the Valve Index is a thing, which a Valve Index has higher resolution, but you require base stations. So this allows for the convenience of the MetaQuest 2, but with some quality improvements in terms of the specs, as well as accessibility improvements, like just the glasses and the diopters makes a huge difference to how many people can finally get around to experiencing VR, assuming they have the cash. This is gonna come out in February of 2023, so keep an eye out. And it's really cool to finally see HTC back in the consumer space again in a real big way. If you like this video, why don't you check out some of our other CES coverage. There's been a ton of cool stuff at the show this year, and we've covered a lot of it. Go watch other things.